right, I'm Russell Payne, and this is the Vindicators Candidate Spotlights, and we have another session for you. Today we're going to talk to State Rep Janis Holt. Before we do that, I want to go over a few election items. Voters registration deadline is February the 2nd. If you want to vote in this election or want to change your address, you can do so by then. Early voting, February the 17th is when that begins. Election day is Tuesday, March the 3rd. We will have candidate forums on Wednesday, February the 11th. 6 p.m. at the Dayton Community Center. That's for Congressional District 9 and Senate District 3. And then the next night, February the 12th, also at the Dayton Community Center at 6 p.m., we will have Commissioners 2 and 4 and the 75th and 253rd District Court judge races that are on the ballot. Our election guide comes out on February the 12th. It'll be online and in print, available for everybody. But with that out of the way, I'll hand the floor over to Ms. Holt and reintroduce yourself to folks that...
Sure. Well, thank you, Russell, for having me this morning. My name is Janis Holt. I live in Silsbee over in Hardin County. House District 18 is made up of Hardin County, Liberty County, San Jacinto County, and a little bit of Montgomery County, the East Montgomery side. And I am pleased to be your state representative. I've had a wonderful year and looking forward to re-election and getting some more work done.
Now, you're going to have an easier go-around than some of the folks on the Republican primary ballot because you don't have an opponent.
That's right, a Republican opponent.
That's right, a Republican opponent. But you will have an opponent. You will be facing Valerie Barton in the general election come November. But, you know, it doesn't mean you don't have some things to say.
And it's always good to get out and share your thoughts with people and answer questions as they come up. So I'll be at those events. To be there, and if people want to come out and say hello, and if you have any comments or questions, I'll be happy to answer them and see what we need to do.
Well, let's talk about it. What's this first session been like? What's this first term,
Sure.
meant to
Well,
be?
there was a little bit of a learning curve, to see how the processes work. I've been working in politics for the last 2 decades on the outside, so it was a little different on the inside. Making sure you understood how things, procedures, things like that. This session was one where we came in with a large reform group, I say about 20 people who were really wanting to reform the House and not just, go along as it's been going. And so, it started with the speaker's race. We chose someone else in our Republican caucus, David Cook. But that's not who got elected on election day on January 14th, almost a little over a year ago now. And so we started there, and we started trying to, to be more of a conservative Republican bloc, doing what the Republican voters in our primary, what they asked us to do. But we came up with a lot of opposition, pretty close, pretty quick. But we continued to work together. We stayed together. We worked together. We voted together. And so I think the leadership now sees that, that we are a large voting bloc. We're looking to increase our numbers around the state. So hopefully we'll have some more like-minded people. And so hopefully we'll be able to, when we see what the Republicans in the convention, I think it's in May or June, what do they put up as their priorities? Because that's what we're tasked to do, is to follow through on those priorities of the Republican voters in the state of Texas. So look forward to that.
You definitely made some connections with your colleagues.
Sure.
I know you had quite a few of them here for you.
Yep.
To kick off your campaign recently.
Right.
What do you think that's going to mean in a second term, that you've laid a little bit of groundwork now and gotten to know some people?
Sure. So now we're able to to hit the ground running. I hate to use that colloquialism, but it is the truth. And so this summer we will be getting our legislation together, because last time I wasn't able to file anything until the day that we were sworn in. This time we'll be able to start some legislation ahead of time, so it'll get a little more traction a little quicker. And so, with the other group of people, we are going to be able to work together to be able to pass that legislation that does line up with our priorities, as well as some of the things here locally that are important to us here in House District 18.
What are some of those things?
Well, the main thing, obviously, is still addressing the needs that we have with Colony Ridge and the things that are going on out there. Last session, I filed a bill to be able to hold the developers a little more accountable and make a little more transparent. But that bill never even got to have a hearing in a committee. So I was a little disappointed about that. And so we started looking for other ways. And so we actually found another bill by another representative that was actually going to make it worse. And so we were able to, first I went in and was able to amend that bill and wanted to try to make it better should it pass. So we were able to successfully amend it, but then we were also able to actually kill it when it came to the vote. And so, because I told the author I wanted to amend it, but I was going to vote against it still. And so we did, and we had enough that voted against it, so it actually died on the floor, which is unusual. Usually when they get that far, especially it was a Republican rep, but we were able to kill it because it would have made it easier for unscrupulous developers to take advantage of people, and so we wanted to stop that too as well. So that's going to be ongoing. Hopefully this next time, I have already put up some interim charges. They call us to make suggestions of things to work on in the summertime. And since I'm on the Homeland Security Public Safety Committee, I have submitted some of those ideas, and we've kind of looped in the Islamic situation that's going on in the state of Texas. So we're going to kind of loop those together because they are similar. And so because they deal with developments. And so we're going to be talking about this summer and hopefully have some good, strong legislation to pull from that coming up in 27.
Immigration's a hot topic right now.
Sure.
Huge topic. And Texas plays a role.
Yeah,
in
a big role.
In that battle. You're on the Homeland Security Committee.
Mm-hmm.
What is the role there?
Well, it's been, in fact, I was in Laredo last week. I spent 3 days in Laredo last week as part of the Homeland Security Caucus, which is different from the committee. But I wanted to go down there. I had been to Laredo before, back maybe 5 years ago. But I wanted to see what it, had things changed. And we were able to go out to the, I think they call it the World Trade Bridge. I think that's the right name, where they have the trucks that just come over, thousands and thousands of trucks that come over every day. But we also talked to the Border Patrol that were there on the river and talked to them about, has it gotten better? And it has gotten better under President Trump, but it's still such a dangerous situation, and they don't have money to be able to sufficiently pay people to come and work there. And so that's some things that we need to look at and to make sure. We heard from the medical examiner down there and some of the tragic stories that she told us about people just, especially in the summer when it's just so hot, and just they just die. They either drown trying to get across the river, or they die while they're hiding out. And so it's a tragic situation for humanity's sake,
Right.
but it's also a Homeland Security issue. That we don't know sometimes who's coming in, especially during the Biden administration. We didn't know, and so we still have to make sure that we keep that in the forefront. So that's my goal.
Education was a huge topic last session.
Yes.
You guys put more money in the pockets of teachers, which was a promise that you made.
Yep, absolutely. And important. It was important to do that.
Right. STAR test is now gone.
Well, we got one more.
One more for it, right?
Yep,
But it's going to be gone, right?
Yep.
And you put together a program for vouchers. The
Education savings account.
Yeah, that escaped my mind, but so what do you think about that session?
Well, it was an interesting session. I'm a former educator, former school board member, and so it was important for us to make sure that we do fund our public schools and make sure that they have the need, things that they need. That was a big concern of mine. It was a big concern of theirs. And so I was very happy that we were able to to do that. Then the STAR test, I think, was the second thing you mentioned. Because of the delays, we tried to get it done in regular session. I think if we'd have got it done in regular session, we probably would not have STAR tests this year.
Right.
But because it got delayed in the Senate, on the Senate side, so we had to come back and revisit that a little bit later. And then, so that will go into effect in the next school year. And what would that be? 27, 28.
Yeah.
School year. So that was a good thing. And one thing you didn't mention that I want to mention is the no cell phones in schools.
That's right. Yeah.
You know, that was a big, huge thing. As a former educator, every distraction that we can eliminate helps them, you know, focusing on what they need to be learning. And so I was very happy that we were able to, to pass that so that cell phones would not be, and that's in effect now. Mm-hmm. That went into effect this school year. I had some kids in my office, tour groups. They were actually from my sister's school, who's a school teacher, and we talked about those two bills. And I asked them how many of them liked the bill that bans cell phones from school, and not one of them, raised their hand. These are middle school kids. Right. Not one of them raised their hand. But when I said, how many of you are excited about not having to take the STAR test, well, they all raised their hand. And it was a good, for me, it was kind of an eye-opening thing for them to be able to see that not all legislation we like, right. But we do like some, and we may not like others, but you have to look for the overall. And then the education savings accounts. The comptroller's office is setting up the parameters for that now. I believe they're going to be in February, that will open up where people can apply and, has to go to accredited schools, et cetera. There are a lot of parameters for that, but that will go into effect also in the next school year.
I know on the cell phones, my sister, who's a teacher, said that walking down the hallway, she realized they make noise this year in the cafeteria at lunch. She said they didn't do that with the phones.
That's right. They were all on their phones.
That's right. So on that, on the phones, on youth, there was another piece of legislation that was brought up at one point during this last session about social media. Mm-hmm. And I'm assuming that may come back.
It will.
This session.
It will.
What are your thoughts on that?
Well, there's two sides of that. One is just the general social media of predators out there on, that are out there online, and stalking our kids, trying to lure them for nefarious reasons, or just as adults, to get us to invest in something, or falsify information in order to get money, or whatever. So there's that side of it that we have to be diligent in the and I don't know, they put in place that you have to verify that you're over a certain age for doing things. I don't know. There will be ways to get around all that stuff. So I don't know how we can get a firm grip on that. That's something that will have to be ongoing. The other side of it has to do with AI. And, you're in this business, so it's real easy to manipulate images, manipulate stories, and so we have to put some parameters in there. We don't want to cross the line to infringe free speech, right. But at the same time, we also want to be representing ourselves in a way that is truthful and honest. I did an AI image on Facebook some time ago, but I made sure I said this is an AI created right. image, right. And so it's we want to make sure that that we're being truthful, and it's only going to get more fine-tuned as we go on. The robotics and all of that stuff. It's truly the Jetsons era, coming up. And I'd like to have a Rosie and, and all of that in my house, but, so we'll have to see how all of that plays out, but we have to stay on top of it and make sure that that we don't infringe on people's rights, but we also, at the same time, we don't want to have an abusive type of system either.
Let's talk about the two dirtiest words in the English language: property taxes.
Yeah. It is, and it's we tried. I signed on to co-author, I think it was 4 different property tax elimination bills, and none of them got a hearing. none of them. In committees, and so obviously if they don't get a hearing in committee, they don't get to the floor. But however, we do have now that the governor is on board and has a plan that he has put out, and so that will be something that is going to happen in the interim too this summer, is working on. I'm not on that committee, but so that'll be working through the system too as well. So hopefully we will have something that we can latch on to. I know the lieutenant governor has talked about lowering the age of homestead exemptions to 55 instead of 65. So that's one thing that we'll be looking at.
We have two different plans kind of on the table right now. Right?
Sure. So it'll depend on, how we can, probably some sort of a mesh of those to be able to have something that we can bring to the floor. And, we have to be honest with the people. And if we, I think the numbers, I can't remember the number exactly, but the number that they were putting out there as property tax relief was not exactly a truthful number.
Right.
It was a cumulative number.
Mm-hmm.
The people want to know how much in this session of the surplus are we getting back?
Right.
And so we have to be truthful about that and can't, sugarcoat it a little bit. I know that they're looking at some money coming from the tariffs and looking at money coming from, we had talked one time about, the federal government had talked one time about eliminating the Department of Education and sending that money back to the people, into the states. So we have some possibilities of some revenue threads that might be coming back to the state of Texas that hopefully we will be able to push back to the people in order to give them property tax relief, because we cannot continue as we are. We cannot have our senior citizens being taxed out of their homes. We've got to do something to help. And so I'm open to all options. Let's figure it out. Let's get on it and do it.
Obviously, that's a big issue, and we're going to be in this next. What are some other big issues this next session that you see, you perceive?
Well, I think the biggest one will be our property tax relief. I think we're going to continue on with, I think it was SB 17 was the bill that we did to eliminate selling Texas land to, to those entities that are designated as hostile nations. China, Iran, Russia, and North Korea currently are the ones that are on that list. And so I think we're going to be looking at that again to make sure that we are closing any loopholes in that we're not, we don't want to sell our land to people that are wanting to harm us here in the state of Texas, or in the United States, but especially here in the state of Texas. So I think that we're going to be, looking at that. I think that will be a big thing. Education is always going to be coming around. So we'll probably have education issues that we'll need to look at too as well. But for me, it's the Colony Ridge situation. I'll be looking again. How can we make that? It's kind of like the cows are out of the gate now, so it's here. So how can we mitigate that? And how can we make sure that we're not expanding the problem, but fixing the problem, shrinking the problem? Cleveland ISD continues to be overrun with, a bunch of kids that we don't always have the right, not the right, but the amount of teachers to be able to help in that area. Space for them. Look, a lot of them are in portable buildings, and so that will continue to be a problem, as well as the infrastructure in general there in the Cleveland area. So got a lot to look at.
Those are not the only developments, though. Colony Ridge is not the only development.
That's correct.
Right?
That's
developments,
correct.
And that is Liberty County's other big issue probably now, right? Is developments and developers, and they're not going to stop coming.
No.
But they are very powerful in the state of Texas. What tools maybe are you looking to see to maybe help this county, steer the ship in terms of?
Well, one of the big issues with Colony Ridge and other developments like that across the state of Texas is the way that it's being done. The basically stripping of the land, and the TCEQ issues, that come along with that. The building codes and things like that to make sure that we're able to have, homes that are up to code. Now, most of these are outside the city limits, so the codes are different, but we have to make sure, when I've talked to developers that are coming into Liberty County and all throughout my district, is to make sure, are we building, are the homes up to code? Are they, we don't want, subpar structures. We want to be able to have, make sure, are they having running water? Do they have sewer septic systems hooked up? All of those things that we need in our homes. And this is America. This is Texas.
Right.
We don't want, something that's subpar. And so making sure that those developers are, their vision is, to have homes, whether it's upper level homes or lower level homes, but whatever level that they have, that those homes are, they have all the structure, all the infrastructure that they need in order to, assimilate into Liberty County and other areas.
Speaking of water and infrastructure, we have a lot of folks that are on the edge of Liberty and Hardin County, and I know you guys have been hard at work trying to help folks in the Batson, Saratoga areas.
Sure.
Where does that stand right now?
Well, actually, right now everything is good. They were able to make some of the repairs and all that, but and they've applied for some grants and some money to be able to, replace some of the infrastructure. But not just House District 18, but all across the state of Texas, we have crumbling infrastructure in these pipes that were made sometimes, in the 50s, 60s.
Right.
I hate to say how old I am, but that's when I was born,
Right.
And so they've been there quite some time. And so they, just the natural progression of the pipes, has weakened, and then you get infiltration through leaks and things like that. Then then you've got compromised water.
Right.
And so so it's always something that we have to be on top of. I'm very grateful for the water development boards that are in House District 18, because they're kind of ahead of the game. They're thinking ahead of the game. But we have to be able to follow up with some financial assistance from the state level in order to help them make those upgrades, because it's not going to get any better. So we have to do something to be able to upgrade those systems. And so that's something I think that's going to be a big issue. Water is always going to be a big issue. So I think that we'll hear from that next session.
Well, why 2 more years? Why another term of Janis Holt?
I've asked myself that. I was very honored to be able to represent the people of House District 18. I feel like my record stands for itself. I worked to be very conservative. Even the budget, I didn't vote for the budget because there was a lot of overspending on it. And I didn't vote to spend over 5 years, I think it's $350 million a year to give to Hollywood to come make films in Texas. I didn't vote for that. I felt like that money needed to go somewhere else. I even voted no on and it was on our proposition or our ballot in November about the Alzheimer study. I voted no to that because that's not the role of government. And so I feel like we have to, we have to make sure we stay within the constraints of what the role of government is. And I'm very in tune to that and making sure that we stay that way and push our leadership to be that way. And so I'm looking forward to working with my cohorts again, and that are like-minded, and really work hard to make sure that we make Texas as conservative as we can. We need to make sure that Texas stays Republican, and I'm ready to fight to make sure that happens every day when we go to the House.
I will say, I'm not taking a stance on the motion picture thing, but we can still keep getting some landman. I'll tell you, however we can get that one.
Well, the thing is with the movie thing is that there are investors who want to do it. We didn't need to.
Right.
And so let the public sector do that.
Right.
Again, that's not a role of government in my mind. And so, but anyway, here we are. It passed, and so it will be happening. And there were some parameters that were set up that I was glad. At least the parameters. They're family-friendly films. They also have to hire people that are that live here in Texas for some of those jobs and stuff. So anyway,
hopefully it'll pan out. possible,
Yes.
right?
Yeah.
Absolutely. Well, real quick, and remember dates again. The registration deadline for voting is February the 2nd. Early voting begins on February the 17th. Election day is Tuesday, March the 3rd. Our forums on February the 11th at 6 p.m. at the Dayton Community Center will be the Congressional District 9 and Senate District 3. The next night, February the 12th, Precinct 2 and 4 Commissioners, 75th and 253rd District Judge races, also at the Dayton Community Center at 6 p.m. And our election guide comes out also on February the 12th. And we'll try to present as many opportunities as we can. These will be available on the Vindicator website under Candidate Spotlights, on our Facebook page, and on our YouTube. You want to make one final pitch?
Well, I will be at all of these forums, and I look forward to meeting you. Come by and say hello. We'll have campaign signs, things like that, and I look forward to it. It's less than a month.
That's right.
Less than a month before early voting starts and the election happening there in the early part of March. So look forward to seeing you. Vote Janis Holt.
And real quick, how can they find you online for more details?
HoltForTexas.com and then Holt for Texas on Facebook. Thank you.
All right. Well, we will see you with more of our Candidate Spotlights.